Alright, here we are. It's Sunday. It's 2 o'clock instead of noon. 2 o'clock, and we're going to get started in this Hollywood hair series. I'm actually going to adjust the camera a little bit before I start focusing on the doll head. So, up we go, so you can see me, and I don't have to hurt my back. So, as I mentioned in last week's stream, there's a website that you can download the PDF of the book that this came out of. I know it's hard to get the idea of what we're doing just from a printout, but if you go on to my in my feed, you can see the link to find the PDF of the book that I will be using throughout the entirety of this series. I will also each week be posting the link again. This week I didn't because it's not that far back in my feed, but next week I will post the link and I will give another clue as to whose hairstyle we're going to be following and how I'm going to approach it. This week is going to be Ava Gardner, and I'm going to start with a heat set, which is a little different from what I might normally do, but turn this on. I thought that trying to translate into a real life situation, more people are likely to have a curling iron than they are to have a bunch of rollers or clips or hairpins, and the time to do, oops, there's my hair, the time to do a wet set. So we're going to start today with Ava Gardner, so you can see the rough idea of what we're aiming for. I'm going to just read the description of her haircut because that's part of every one of these styles, is their haircut and how they do their, and then on to the styling, excuse me. So beginning, Ava Gardner has the oval face considered classic by beauty experts, and you can see that very clearly. She has a very oval face, very well proportioned. This relatively short-cut coiffure is designed to make a flattering frame for her oval facial structure. Her hair is thick, naturally curly, and of medium texture. How Ava's hair is cut. The hair is parted on the right, which will look like the left from your point of view, but part on the right. And is taper cut 3 inches long on the top, so about yay long, and on the sides, and about 1.5 inches, about yay long at the neck in the back, and then tapered all around so that the ends aren't blunt cut. This doll head was chosen as my representative doll head of Ava Gardner because, don't set that there, I almost set it on the curling iron, that would have been terrible, lit it on fire. I had previously set this doll's hair. I'm gonna scooch down for a second. So she's got, you know, we can pretend like she has natural curl in her hair, and it's a little long, but it has been taper cut into a longer midi style, and I'm just going to use it. It's one of my shorter doll heads, but this one seemed to be the most appropriate for what I was looking for to interpret this style. The back will more than likely just be fluffed, but we could also tuck it in so that you have more of a tapered look at the neck. And then I'm just going to cover the set. How Ava's hair is set. The top front hair is set in 2 rows of 3 stand-up curls. The curls are rolled loosely around 2 fingers to make them unusually large. I'm going to show how we're going to achieve that with the curling iron. Large pin curls are used irregularly all over the head to set the rest of the hair. The curl should be as large as possible for the length of the hair. Once more, I'm going to show what we're doing with the curling iron to get the wave and the curl. When the hair is combed out, a dressing should be applied for grooming purposes. The hair should then be brushed, not combed, into place to give it a soft appearance. So, I need to grab one more thing. Right back. I'm brilliantine. I need my dressing. Okay. So I'm also going to right quick show how to interpret these diagrams. Even though we've just read how, I'm going to just come in here and hope it'll focus. Showing that these here represent stand-up curls. You could even use rollers in here, and they're rolled away from this part. And then because everything else, so they're showing here the stand-up curls, and then everything else is just a random mix of curls all over the head. So there's really no rhyme or reason to it. The only thing to notice is that all curls, like was mentioned last week, all the curls are rolling toward the face, which will make it a little simpler when you might attempt to do something like this for yourself or someone else. We can nearly divide the head in half. I am going to do a little something because we are focusing on a heavy right part. The first thing I'm going to do is start with the stand-up curls. So we have the front section. She's already been treated, but I am going to be using a heat protectant when we come in to do the actual curling. The hair, I'm going to just part front and back. I'm not terribly concerned about a clean part. We're just getting the best idea for making a natural and loose curl. I'm going to clip the back out of the way for a little bit, and because we're curling the parts on the right, we're curling away from the part, I'm going to start with the farthest curl. So from here on out, I'm going to be focusing the camera, find myself, camera down onto the doll head. I hope that you can see well enough and that you can still hear what I'm talking about. So coming down to doll head level. And got my thermal protectant, which I'm going to be spraying on relatively liberally, but not to soak it down. You can find a list on the on my newsfeed on my page that will give you a list of absolutely all of the products that I will be using throughout this series. And because it said 3 curls going away, I'm going to guess about 1/3 of the hair and comb through it. We still want smooth hair no matter how casual this is going to be. And then, oh, this is terrible. I did not set myself up properly. There we go. So, because we want this to be a stand-up curl, I'm going to start at the bottom. And we're just going to roll it away from the hair, the part, and just keep wrapping it around. And once we've got it around, we're going to hold it here for just a few seconds until you feel the heat all the way through. slide it off. And because we want these to be a little larger, we're going to let them, as they're not going to stay tight like they came off the curling iron, just letting them fall as well. I'm going to just move some stuff so I can reach what I need easier. Move my cart, all the things, cart, move my cart, knock everything over, perfect. And swing the cord around the front so I can do this easier. Just be stupid. Alright, so we're going to do another stand-up. Once more, we're not worried about perfection, just roughly a third of this front section of hair. And then we're going to comb through, just like we did the last one. We want it to be still smooth. And I'm going to just comb back a little bit because I do want to get the height with the iron. So come in, down low, and just start guiding the hair through the iron, smooth. That's really the key, is you want it to be smooth, you want it to be steady, and then hold it for just a few seconds, and we're okay with it loosening up. Sometimes, depending on what the final look is for a style, I will hold it a little tighter or use a different iron. Also, we're going to be using these single prong clips as our little curl holders, so we can set the hair and let it cool down so that it will maintain the shape of the curls as we place them. Coming in, same thing, the last third on this top. I'm just going to carefully guide the hair through the curling iron. And really, this front section is going to be the section that's going to be the most necessary to stick to a pattern, even though it's a loose pattern, just to get the height out of the curls. Using the clip, hold them so they can cool down properly. Some people might want to start in the back of the section. I decided to start in the front. It might get a little weird. And just use my heat protectant again. You always, especially when you're heat styling, you always want to put heat protectant in, whether it's a cream, whether it's a feature of a gel or mousse, or in my case, what I'm using is a spray made specifically for heat protection and heat styling. We're going to do the same thing we did in the front sections in the back, finding roughly a third. You could also do this if you wanted to maybe save yourself a little bit of time. You could also do this in a one long curl around the iron, but I'm trying to show what the set and how it can be interpreted into a more modern method of curling. And for this, because of how things are sitting, I've decided to, for this back side, to put the clips in the back of the curl. So here we go. Another third. Hair going crazy over here. Stay in there. Sometimes you just gotta give it the talking to. It's still not gonna listen. Stay. Stir. curling iron. And once this back section is done, then everything else will be a little less particular in the setup, a little less particular in how. Let me just show how we take a curling iron to make pin curls. Just tuck this in, and the idea is that as it cools, it will set and stay in this voluminous form. If you have bangs, you might want to choose to just curl behind the bang section, if that's something that, if you're still thinking you'd like to try a style like this, you would just start your top curling section behind the bangs. So here we go. I have the advantage of having fingernails, so I don't necessarily have to touch the iron. Not everybody has long nails, but if slide it out. So here we have that first section. I'm going to just show comparative. So you can see on the page, 3 large stand-up curls rolled away in 2 rows, rolled away from the part. And now what we have is, I'm going to take her off the stand for a second, is 3 large stand-up curls, 2 rows rolled away from the part. That is the most critical section. Everything else here is going to be a grab bag of semi-randomness. Prepping the section with a heat protectant and pretending like she has naturally curly hair, and remembering that all of the sections are rolled forward toward the face. Just gonna, since we want this to kind of be haphazard and it's recommending larger size curls, I'm splitting the side section in half, and we'll start on the bottom, and I'm just gonna do 2 larger size, put that out of the way, larger size curls. So we're gonna just aim down. I'm coming in behind. I'm trying to figure out, so if you were doing this for yourself, we're going to have it so that the spoon of the iron, and in this case, because I'm not worried about them being stand-up curls, I just need to make sure that they are, it's almost wrapped in a spiral fashion, and then let it fall loose. And then what we're going to do is just kaleidoscope everything together and turn it. I'm going to show on the side in just a second. Turn it toward the face and put a clip in. So turn toward the face, clip put in, and we'll do that same technique with the next one. And I'm kind of coming from behind for the sake of wanting to roll the curling iron forward so that on this side all of the curls roll towards the face. If you want tighter waves, tighter curls, then take smaller sections, and it can really help make this a little express a little tighter once it is cooled down. Coming up to the next subsection, as I said, it's basically larger curls. What do I see? Hold on. Hi! Sorry, I changed my font on my phone, so I can't really read very well unless I get real close. So basically taking the curling iron in a relatively large subsection. Her head is not sticking where I want it to. Hold on. There we go. So once more, tuck it in and rolling forward in a bit of a kaleidoscoping fashion, barrel curls, sausage curls, whatever you want to, whatever works to help you visualize what I'm doing down the curling iron. Roll towards the face, let it set for a second. I apologize for the focus. Take that out and then just gather it into itself and rotate it forward. So we have that forward facing pin curl so it can just cool and set. It's one nice thing about styles such as these. We're only focused on creating some volume and a little bit of curl, so I'm not as worried about technically correct sectioning. It's already said that it's haphazard set of curls, so if you were doing this for yourself, you wouldn't have to panic about where, oh gosh, you know, I didn't part it right, so now it's not gonna work out. Also, the fact that it wants, you know, it suggests that, you know, you make the curls as big as the length of hair will let you. So then we just got this little side section. I've only put in 4 pin curls, obviously. The diagram definitely shows a few more than 4, but it's also going on the fact that Ava Gardner's hair was definitely shorter than this doll head, and I think that using only 4 subsections will be sufficient to create the look on this particular length of hair. Like I said, she's just about my, well, I don't know if she's my shortest haired doll head, but she's pretty close. And this is just to show what, how we can translate that vintage style into a more modern take on it without really losing the classic lines and look, if that makes sense. So once more, spraying with heat protectant before we start doing anything, and comb through, and we're gonna just part it out yet again, about in half, because like I said, we're just aiming for the rough idea of what this particular set pattern is aiming for. I could have used one of my shorter haired doll heads, but that's okay. This will get the idea across. So, since she has length to her, because generally speaking, Ava Gardner's hair would have been about that long, give or take. It's about 3 inches. So it would be, this would be really cute for anybody with a pixie with just a little bit of length in the front. So this one, we're coming, still turning towards the face, all curls, aside from the stand-up curls in the top, all curls are rolled toward the face. And let it sit for just, pull the curl out. Stay where you're staying. Poke things around. That's the fun part about hair, is that at some point you're gonna screw up and touch something you weren't supposed to touch. So we've turned into a little kaleidoscope into itself and rotated it forward onto the face using our little single prong clip, just securing enough to hold it. It doesn't have to be anything terribly magical, just enough to hold it. And trying desperately to show what I'm doing without blocking the camera. Next one is also going to be rolled forward. And the only tip I would say is always set your curls up wherever they're going. Set them up from kind of the bottom of the pile to the top, so any subsequent curl that might lay on another one, do that one. So instead of, say, starting at the top in the back where I wouldn't have the room, because like this guy's going to come up and kind of sit on the neighbor here, and then the ones above it will continue to lay on top of the next ones. It's a little bit nicer to be able to have them in the order that they can lay one on top of the other. Same reason we started on the far edge on the top, because each one is going to come and rest against its neighbor. So we're going to come in, rolling towards the face, sticking with the simple kind of sausage curl situation. There you go. And then letting it come down. It might become evident here, this is a relatively simple styling method, because I'm not having to put much into perfect sections. Not really having to worry about how precise everything is. The idea is to make the curls as natural looking as possible. I hope that it's showing up. I can't really tell. I'm kind of lost over here as far as the camera's concerned. I mean, I know what I'm doing, but as far as the camera's concerned, it has no clue what I'm doing. And because we're just looking for the biggest, even though I'm using a 1/2 inch barrel curling iron, I'm still looking for as big a curl as I can get the curling iron to create. And we'll just tuck it round, let it sit on its neighbors, and we're gonna, okay, so now we have this side once more, 4 curls together, rolled forward to the face. The as was shown before, the diagram is definitely showing more, but not really. It's like as many curls as you want to cram in there, or don't cram them in. You know, in this case, I've got a fairly large curl body, so there's not really, it's just kind of like, I think anybody could probably just roll forward and, yeah, do it in just a couple curls. So now we're going to come to the back and see about creating haphazard curls throughout the back of her hair. Ain't she pretty? Got this nice rainbow going on. Except for the yellow. The yellow kind of took a dive, but everything else still looks pretty awesome. So once more, I'm going to try and see if I can adjust this a little bit. Alright. Pre-spraying with heat protectant, because I really want to protect this hair. It's pretty weak, and I don't want to challenge it any more than it already is. Okay. So, because we're just going haphazard, I'm just going to randomly part off a section. And I am doing this bottom to top, just like the front sections, because that way you can still curl the curls around. And because she just has a really, really small neckline, I'm just going to kind of grab a section, and we're going to, just like before, roll towards the face. So from the back, coming in. Oh, you can't even see what I'm doing. I apologize. I don't know if I can make it do anything more than what it's doing. So just tucking it in. Take that down. Curl it into itself. And then tuck it round to the face. And clip. And I gotta figure out where the heck the middle of her head is. Where is the middle of your head? Roughly thereabouts. It's not, we don't have to be too terribly particular, like we said. It's just a rough idea here. Like, this isn't a very large amount of hair, because at certain points she kind of is missing some. It's okay. And this one, because we're still on the left side of the head, curling. Basically, use your midline, curl everything from the midline forward towards your face, or if that's too much, you could also just say, like, back in the back, you're going to roll the hair toward the ear. That can help, because some people spatially just can't do roll it towards my face, what the heck. But if you say I'm rolling it towards my ear, because your ear is, you know, right here, rolling it towards your ear can be a good way to work through that. Haphazard, grab a chunk. And that's the nice thing about a style like this, is that it's not meant to be precise. It's meant to be able to do it for yourself. And coming round, I'll try to stay low like I was doing, so that way at least it would be reminiscent of how one might be doing this for themselves. Would be, you know, coming in from the front, wrapping their hair around, although this is going to be quite a trick. And if you don't have single prong clips, you can use whatever clips or bobby pins that you have available to you. It's not, there's no mandatory style. It's really more about being able to lock the curl in place so that you can set the curl. Basically, we want to let it get cold so that it will stay and be lovely. And that's where the little clip in this case, or a hairpin or a bobby pin, it's just to hold that. So just kind of a haphazard layer of curls, and just pull down next section, which also kind of a haphazard layer of curls somewhere in the neighborhood of the occipital bone, but not necessary. You don't have to be perfect with it, because especially if you're trying to do something like this on yourself, you're going to be on the back of your head. You're not going to see what you're doing anyways. So I'm going to start on the right hand side. Take a piece, and this is pretty much the method for the entire back of the hair. I wish there was a way to speed up the process at this point, now that we've kind of seen, oh, here's how we do it. On the upside, you know, it's showing you in real time how long something like this might take. The advantage to the curling iron is that you don't have to then spend you have to spend a little time cooling down, but you don't have to spend what I'm going to call drying time like you would with a wet set. Let's see. Oh yeah, I would love to see you give it a go. This would be I mean, it's a pretty simple technique. There's not, and because you don't have to be since you don't have to be like super precise with it, it also means that like you can in some ways just kind of speed through the process. In this case, I'm taking a little middle section that I want to combine together. But yeah, it means that you can, especially on shorter hair, this is a really nice option for somebody who just wants to have a little wave, a little style. And by letting it cool down into these, you know, curl patterns will encourage a greater chance of sticking around. I am going to, before I start taking anything down, I am going to spray it with some hairspray. Now just roughly divide in half. Make this side do what it needs to do. Yeah, and you could even translate this into longer hair as well. Either making even larger curls. Oh, I don't know. Hold on, let me shift this so you can actually see what the heck I'm doing. My apologies. You can do even larger curls, or if you're really wanting to get, you know, curl versus wave, you can do smaller subsections, smaller curls. I just want to show what I mean when I was talking earlier about a taper. I don't know if I'm able to show this. I'm going to try. The hair is cut in such a fashion that it's been layered and tapered off. I wish this would focus properly. But basically, it's not just a blunt cut. That's one thing about styles from the 1950s. It was definitely a time where there was a lot of razor used. There was a lot of tapered ends. There was a lot of blending, so that when you did a style such as this or something similar, you had the ability to blend the curls together so they wouldn't just be sticking out all over the place. All right. And because this is a 1950s hairstyle, we're going to be putting the curls all the way, probably got 2 more layers here. We're going to be putting curls all the way to the crown because this isn't the era for hats. So you don't have to worry about somebody ruining their hair style with a hat, because people still wore them, but it wasn't deemed as much of a necessity in the 50s. So it's definitely, you know, a little different for that reason. And we're just going to keep doing the same technique, each section taking small subsection, non-precise, just curling it up. As you can see, I just keep touching it so I know that it's getting heated sufficiently, but not overheated. We don't want to burn anybody's hair off. And then tucked in. And if you're doing this for yourself, you can kind of just reach back and touch is a good way to figure out And that is the nice thing, is that if you do it for yourself, you don't have to worry about it being perfect. I think the only thing you might have to worry about is going through and missing a section of hair. I don't often try and curl my own hair, but I know when I'm doing something with, say, a braid, I have definitely missed large amounts of hair. And then I either have to start over, or if I'm being really, really childish about it, then I'm going to, I'll literally rip it out of my head. I know. Don't do that. Don't copy me in that respect. And this one, even though it's kind of in the middle, I'm going to roll it forward to the left, just because it's close. But yeah, we're just setting this in enough to give us some nice pretty waves. Tuck it in, curl it around, throw a clip in it, let it cool down. I mean, people spend plenty of time on their hair. This is just a, you know, a little extra. But you can get something that will last definitely all day, couple days, if you're willing to go without washing. Yeah, I can't see anything again. I'm trying, guys. I don't have a videographer. It's just me and my little phonelet. I'm trying to decide, because we're about I'm almost an hour in here. Not quite, but almost. So I may wrap this up with the end of the curling and do the styling next week. Showing how, I mean, you wouldn't have to let it sit that long, but then you can see basically how letting the curls get cold, like I wouldn't undo the stall head until next week to show the styling, just because we're kind of starting to run on. And I wanted this to make a brief demonstration for each step. So we may, I think, yeah, just given that it's closing in on, almost an hour in here, I think I will just go ahead and do a styling video next week with my live stream. So it's the last section, last subsections. Like I said, we don't have to worry about keeping the crown smooth, even though there's going to be a little bit of that just for the sake of how the these curls are going in. There's going to be a little bit of a smooth crown, but not a giant bit. So just let it finish putting these last curls in, and then we'll do a nice overview comparison of what I've created with the curling iron as compared to what is suggested for the wet set with the Ava Gardner style. And we'll then, yeah, next week we'll just bring, come back to it and do the styling. Show one, like, casual styling, and then two, more, something like how you can fancy it up a little bit, maybe how to tuck the back in to give more of the Ava Gardner look, like how to take, in this case, the doll head, but a person could do it too, is how to take somebody who has a little bit longer hair and make it look like they've got a cute little, like a little short pixie, a little short curly pixie. You know, just show some styling options, show how we have translated the style. Oh, gotcha. See, I gotta keep staring at my magic device. You know, and I think that really this is easily attainable, and if say you were doing something like this by yourself, or not recording for an audience, you could also pick up the pace as well. You can also get a similar thing going on if you use like hot rollers. You won't get the exact same like pin curl vibe, but you can get a similar idea with hot rollers. Just reminding yourself to continually roll toward the face, or in the back, if it makes more sense to you, roll toward the ears, you know, but not really worrying about a midline, not being like, oh, every single curl, you know, from the middle of my head. You know, like I've kind of mixed it up a little bit so that also I don't want to necessarily have a super split in the style. Like I don't want to necessarily, when I'm all done, have like a line right down the middle of the head. So kind of shifting out of all of that, you don't necessarily end up with a split side to side. So before we go too crazy, I'm going to just use a little style fixer. I know it's backwards. There's a whole list 2 posts ago on my page that tells what all of the different products I will be using throughout this journey. So you can look that up. I'll just come back and spray lightly. And then if you were doing this and wanting to take it down right away, you just had to wait, basically just wait until the curls feel cold. Oh, I just took my face on it too. Hold on. Oh, you'll be able to brush it out super easy. Literally just brush it. I know it sounds like I'm not trying to hide secrets or anything. I really styles such as this really are like use if their hair is a little thicker, a little more really like a Denman brush is going to be a good choice. And if you have someone with a little bit finer hair, or you want to make it a little smoother, doing some finishing with in this case it's a mixed bristle brush, but like a nylon or a boar bristle brush, just to start the process of just letting the curls fall where they will. Like it's a style that's not meant to be super precise. You can mold it if you want with like taking like using your teasing comb and like really like coming in and adjusting and arranging, but the whole idea behind it is that it makes, I'm going to use my little paper again, it makes, a really soft style that doesn't, this definitely to me screams 1950s by a lot, but it's a very soft style. It's a very just kind of let the curls fall where they may. Like I said, my doll head has a little bit more hair in the back, so you know she's gonna look a little different than this. And what it says, I'll read it again, is when the hair is combed out, a dressing should be applied for grooming purposes, either a pomade or cream or some such that you feel comfortable using as a finisher, or even using like the Oil Wonders, any of those. The controlling one, the Muru Muru, would be a good choice for shine. And then the hair should then be brushed, not combed, into place to give it a soft appearance. So what I will be using on my doll head is, because I'm going to be authentic with it, so I'm going to be using the Tres Flores Brilliantine. Reminding ourselves that this is Vaseline and very few people in the real world want to use it. So in place of, you can use pomade, you can use oil, you can use finishing creams, anything that just has a little control, just kind of help keep fuzzes down. So let's do a quick comparison between this lovely lady, doesn't she look pretty? Oh, she's gorgeous. And what the diagram is showing us. So once more, the top section is, I'm going to just come in close. The top section there is two rows of 3 stand-up curls, all rolled away from the part towards the left. And then everything else is just a haphazard set of curls. You can see in here that they're not really orderly. They're just kind of all over the place. And so once we got the top set, then everything else is just kind of a haphazard collection of random curls, all being curled toward the face. So with that, I think we shall call today a day, and I will post up when we do next Sunday. I will go ahead and do the full comb out and styling, and that will take us through the first hairstyle of the Hollywood Hair series that I'm working on. There are 10 different styles. Some of them I may choose to not show the comb out on a live stream and just do it and then post it. Especially I think with Elizabeth Taylor's, it's pretty basic, so her hair's quite short. Things like that, I'll figure out how I want to present it, but that will be in the next, I'm sure this will take me through Christmas. I'm pretty sure. But for today, that's my demonstration, and we'll catch you next Sunday at 2 o'clock for the comb out of my lovely lady.